interview with George Hanna. George wrapped up with me about 2 weeks ago, and he's going to talk about his experience working with me in the past 12 weeks. Hey, George, could you give yourself a quick intro? That'd be cool.
George Hanna. I'm 55. I work in IT, technology, software, around the engineering sector. Living down in Kent, just generally having a good time with it.
Cool. So what we're going to do, kick off with, where were you before you got going? And I'd look at that in terms of, your fitness, your health, overall work performance. Where were you before you started working with me, would you say, George?
I had a few turbulent years, kind of mentally, physically, etc. Sort of loss in the family and variety of different things, and then work and etc. Kind of amalgamating into a position where I wasn't really putting myself first. I think it's important to state that I kind of have ADHD, so that kind of hyper focus only lasts for so long. So you're trying to do something new or trying to change or improve it, only lasts for so long. Also got underactive thyroid, which has a significant impact to your metabolism, and I kind of got the I suppose the nice guy syndrome, sort of putting other people's first before myself. So like a lot kind of going on really prior to getting more aligned. I was kind of consciously about 18 months ago that probably needed to be a bit fitter for someone of my age, just as I kind of get older, just needed increased mobility. So I was conscious of that fact, but I guess there was always excuses. There was always something else getting in the way. There's something else I needed to do. There's something else I needed to put in place first. And, it never kind of got what I wanted to do.
And so going back to, obviously, just before we started, sometimes there's not like one big thing. Sometimes it's a few little things. But what was the thing that made you reach out and get started?
Yeah, you're right. There's no silver bullet here. Well, I needed to be accountable, but before you can be accountable to yourself, if you can be accountable to somebody else, knowing that you're going to have to make progress each week was certainly a factor. Someone to say, well, last week you said you were going to do this, but you need to do this. And you think, yeah, I do need to do that. And knowing that we had, a weekly call saying, oh, I must do something to improve this. I must have done something differently in order to have that conversation next week. So I think that was the key thing, is just to have someone there kind of virtually at your elbow to sort of see how those things are going.
And, you shared that you've got ADHD, 12-week program, right? You said at the top of the call that sometimes that makes commitment challenging. You completed 12 weeks. We had calls every week. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, it's good because you kind of like have this enthusiasm to kind of go out and change the world with ADHD, and then it kind of wavers. So you did, and I think it's typically, if I'm doing something every day for 30 days or doing something consistently twice a week for 90 days, then it becomes a bit of a habit. It becomes a bit more of the norm, a little bit more acceptable to do things. But it was just getting through the pain of getting through that first 30 days. I think it was the key element, not just kind of how you are physically, but how you are mentally. I think, I carried that on. So I think there's a lot of things now I do that I have daily tasks in order to do things and make sure that they're kind of done. That kind of sets you up for the right frame of mind for the day. Things like, what's a good example? So, it's like you're at work, you've got some task, and you've got one big task that is going to be very difficult to solve. You're going to give a bit of time. And like most people, I guess, we would do this rhinoceros task of the day. So I think doing that first thing in the morning, hit it head on, it was a great way of doing it. And I think, our sessions have certainly taught me to hit the most difficult things first, get the difficult thing out of the way early in the day, and that way you can enjoy the rest of the day or have better fun.
They call it eat the frog, don't they, I think? I think
Eat the frog.
Eat the frog. Yeah, eat the frog, basically. In fact, that reminded me. So I think week one, we hopped on a call, and I think like things have been very stressful, and you'd had a lot going on. You go back to that accountability. How important is that for you? And do you think for other people having that external accountability? Because I think if you don't, it's easy to go, "Oh, I'll start next week." Work's busy again, right?
Yeah, and I think the other part of it is, I know you do some sort of daily exercises, but I don't know which ones would be best for me. So you kind of do this routine of doing an exercise, whether that's, I don't know, something simple, run up and down the stairs 4 or 5 times a day. But is that actually helping me? Is that actually doing it? So you kind of do something. If you don't feel like, not immediate, but if you don't feel yourself changing within 2-3 weeks, you say, well, that probably isn't best for me. I need to find something else. Then you kind of lose yourself in trying to find the research, and then in the end, you're out of momentum and you're out of routine. So having someone there that you can bounce those ideas off, talk about things. Well, Michael, I know you told me to do that, but it was very, the weights you asked me to lift were far too heavy. But it's kind of making that compromise to fit your flow, and you're kind of doing that together. And I think that adds a certain amount of, kind of parks the accountability to an element that's there. But I think, you're opening yourself up more of collaboration, open up yourself to more ideas. And when you do that, you're kind of then doing things that you wouldn't have considered by yourself.
I think that's an important factor to touch on as well, because I think, I think you see lots of programs that are very generic. And the way I like to do everything is I want to talk to you first. What are your specific challenges? What's your previous exercise? So how did you find that it was very much collaborative? Obviously there's areas that I'd maybe want you to focus on and improve, but I need your feedback, right, to move forward. How do you find that a very collaborative approach?
Yes, a very good point. I think you're looking at ways to change what you do, and there's obviously some things that are not going to work for me as well as other things, and it's just trying to find those alternatives. Because the issue wasn't whether I was physically able to do exercises, or were creative enough to think about what I eat differently. A lot of it was about the mindset saying, I know I can do this, just get on and do it. And that was, for the first 2-3 weeks, is saying, I just need to get into that mindset, which is actually, that's actually more difficult. So when you work in a collaborative way, you're then kind of bartering to find what is best for you to get into that groove. When you're in that groove, then you can step up. I think you need to get into establish a routine, and then gradually increase or just do things differently within that routine that wouldn't feel so different to where you were when you first started. If you go straight in on that, guess what? I can never do that. It's far too much of a leap. But if you start gradually and discuss what kind of best options, then you find that you accelerate quicker than you thought.
I also think that, from experience, that and I've done coaching programs myself, if you go into something that it feels too much and feels too overwhelming, and you can't hit that goal, it can be a little bit demoralizing as well.
Yeah. If I skipped a day because I had an early start, it's almost not convenient. Never was a morning person. I think the key factor there is, don't give in. If you didn't do what you wanted to do that particular morning, or you didn't want to do, you didn't achieve your average steps for the week or whatever, tomorrow's always a new day. Just step up. Don't beat yourself over it. It's a part of the learning process. You know where your body and your mind lies, and I think that was that was an important part of it, is getting into that routine, into that groove.
Yeah, nice. So in terms of the process, I think lots of people join certain things and they think they're going to have to change everything, and it's going to be really, really almost too hard. I think we always attach certain fears of what we're not going to be able to do. How did you find the process overall for you?
Good, actually. Sorry, encouraging. But very, very much so. I think encouraging is definitely the better word. There's some things I just didn't want to do. and I'd be traveling around as a part of my job, and I'd be getting back late, and I'd be tired, and that has a detrimental effect to how you are the next day. So, taking time to just, consider what you're doing and how far you've come and what the next step is, was really important to know that you can make mistakes. You could have a lazy day, but the point is that you can continue the process.
Yeah, nice. And in terms of, you mentioned mindset just a few minutes ago, and I agree. I think that's one of those things that it's like the buzzword for everyone, but it's not necessarily easy to achieve. What sort of changes have you seen from that change in mindset, would you say? But again, you're probably implementing going forwards as well.
Yeah. So I think the noticeable difference, the fact that I said I wasn't a morning person. So obviously when working from home, you kind of start at 9. Okay, I'm normally downstairs for 8. Catch up on my phone, have a cup of coffee, maybe another cup of coffee. And then, kind of ready to go. I haven't really kind of exerted myself, but I'm there going. And then I probably hit my groove at work around 10:30, 11, etc. So obviously, eat the frog, try and do the most difficult thing first. So doing exercise in the morning, giving the dog a walk in the morning, which means kind of getting up earlier. And having that done means I was kind of ready to go, and it hit my stride as soon as the clock ticked 9. And the way I do that is I don't look at my phone. I don't even, I will get up, put my laptop on, go and get a coffee. And now I don't put my laptop on until it's like 10 to 9 when I've done my exercises, when I've walked out the dog. I'm also one of these people that don't have an appetite for breakfast in the morning. So you got me doing the protein thing. Because what would happen is I wouldn't have breakfast, but by about 11 or 12 o'clock, I'd be thinking, I might just get snacks, some toast or something, where protein is obviously important to the diet. So actually having a protein shake was really good, because I can have that protein shake. It's mixed with water, so it's quite good when I was to drink that while I'm doing my exercises. But I say I won't have a cup of coffee until I've drank my protein, and that normally filled me up till lunchtime anyway. So straight away, I've got a totally different routine. I'm up at 7, do my exercise by 15:15, out with the dog by 2:45, back by 8:15, and I still got my time. I still have my time. I wanted to check the news or log on early because I know I've got a busy day at work or whatever the scenario. But that choice is now mine. I'm not forced into it just because the clock's ticking. So that's a significant difference.
By the way, George, just on that's pretty huge as well, really. Because if you think you're mentally ready to go at 9, as opposed to maybe warming yourself up and ready to go at 11, that's 2 hours a day of actually being in work, ready, sharp. That's 10 hours a week. That's not saying you weren't doing any work, but that's like 10 hours a week where you're sharper, right? More energetic, more creative. Over a year, I mean, I don't know the exact maths on that. Not a mathematician, but that's a huge, that's a big difference, right?
Well, the other thing, and it's certainly an ADHD trait. So the other side of that coin is, if you do get an early start, or you're starting work and you're working flat out, you've got a lot of work to do, you're cracking on, you're doing your thing. Sometimes I'd work through lunch times, because it's busy. You do what you have to do, but then 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:15, man, I start to flag.
Mm-hmm.
My energy's dissipated. I struggle on till it's dinner time. And if it's my turn to cook, then it's a struggle to do. Baked beans on toast anymore, which is good for protein, by the way. So I think doing the early start, getting ready for work, having that protein shake, get me to that lunchtime. Then I have a suitable lunch. Will give me that energy and sharpness to last me to the end of the day and beyond. And that makes a significant difference. As soon as work's finished, bang, I'm up there. My turn to cook. Let's crack something out. Let's do something. And now the nights are getting longer. Considering all that, let's go out for a walk in the evening and do some more exercise. But brisk walk, nothing too strenuous, but just to kind of get out there and feel some vitamin D and the rest of it. So twofold really. Just that early morning exercises makes me ready to start work. have that energy to see me throughout the whole day, no lag at 4 o'clock, and still be able to do something pretty engrossing in the evening, whether that's drawing or walking or whatever it may be.
Yeah, nice. I'm actually going to touch on to that next, because obviously, that shows a big, significant difference in your work performance and how you can, get your work done with the right amount of energy and clarity. What about the other side of things, like you said, like creative side of things, getting some artwork done, family? What's been the difference there for you?
Yeah, I think one of the key aspects, and a lot of people will relate to this, that if you've had a bad day at work, and we all have them, you can deal with 1 issue, 2 issues, 3 issues, getting out of 4 and thinking, what the hell is happening to you today? What's going on? And we've all been there, and you're just mentally exhausted at the end of the day. You can't switch off. It's buzzing in your head. You're trying to watch a bit of TV. You're trying to do something to escape from it. Of course, that subconsciously grinds at you while you sleep. You're not 100% refreshed when you wake up next morning, and it's impacted your next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's keen about having that routine, doing that exercise, is getting outside, feel the grass. I keep saying to my daughters, feel the grass. Then it helps to shut work off. Doesn't matter what kind of day you had, but coming into the day, you say, right, laptop shut, close the lid, boom, I'm done. And you're not carrying that into your night. So having discussions with family or doing walk. We did a spontaneous just nip out and have dinner last week on the Thursday. Nothing particularly planned, so off we went, and it was good to do that. It really, really was good. And I was doing art, doing some creative stuff. I think when you're in sales and you're in technology sales, to be very task orientated. So exercise the other side of your brain by going off and do something creative is actually really nice, and it helps recovery. So it helps you be better next day at work.
I think that's the knock-on effect from the energy levels as well, though. Wanting to get out of the house, wanting to cook meals, wanting to, whatever that thing is in your spare time, wanting to do that, because we all can get into that almost loop of just I'm tired, my energy's low, I'm lethargic, I just want to try and switch off from work, but it's not necessarily easy to do unless you have maybe something else to focus on.
Yeah, without question.
One thing I always like to know, is there anything that you thought you would have to do that you didn't have to do? I think a lot of people go and they think, I'm gonna have to do this, I'm gonna have to give up carbs, I can't maybe have a beer at the weekend. Was there anything that you thought, oh god, I'm gonna have to do this, I'm gonna try it? You didn't really have to?
Yeah, I thought the exercises would be tougher, and I thought the diet would be a stricter regime. I did kind of go into that thinking that obviously looking at some of your case studies previously, you had a lot of clients that lost a significant amount of weight. I know with my underactive thyroid that shifting weight was going to be an issue, and I know that I kind of wanted to build strength, which obviously leads to muscle mass, which then of course is weighty. So I was thinking, in order for me to see an improvement within the 12-week period, I think I'm going to have to fast a little or be really strict. And some aspects from recording it, I was, when you have to record things, and you pop and have a chat with your daughter who's busy on a computer upstairs, and she's got this open bar of chocolate at the side there. I go, I'll just pinch a cube of that, and you're going, I don't even know how to equate that in the calories on the app, so I won't have it, because that way it just saves me a bit of admin work. But I think the key thing is subtle changes actually make a significant difference. Like I say, it wasn't this big bang approach, and I think that's going back to the exercise thing. Is that it's about making a little change each day, and if you make a little change each day, then within a month you've actually made significant changes without actually hurting on a day-to-day basis. And that was a nice surprise about the whole diet thing. So you got, me, the size I am, 2,200 calories to take, but actually saying, well, if you're not a breakfast person, use protein, Have that great lunch. Make sure there's protein. I've never eaten so many eggs, and that way you can have what you want. Have exactly what everybody else is having for dinner. You don't have to really restrict or think about what you're doing, and you'll still be under that calorie marker. And then you balance that with your exercise, and that just gives you a little bit more, which is great. So if you decide to go out for dinner ad hoc like we did last week, I just chose from the menu what I would like, and not necessarily what I was conscious about on the calorie side.
I think that's really important for long-term sustainability as well, because again, people can follow stuff maybe for a period of time, but if it's too strict, it's never going to work long-term, right? How do you feel going forwards, like long-term? Do you feel like what you're doing now you can stick to and it's sustainable?
Oh yeah. I probably still need to do more work, but yeah, definitely. I think it's about the awareness more than anything. So if I say, do you know what, I'm gonna get those cream buns and sit there and scoff those and that big bucket of popcorn while watching the movie tonight, I'd do it. I know on average I'm still going to be good for it over the time, but I think that's it. Everything in moderation. There's some sweets I do like, and there's some savoury products that I do like that I know probably contain a bit more fat, but you just eat it in moderation. I'm not eating those things every day. I didn't take my protein today, and I fancy some lunch, but something cool and refreshing. And so I saw the kids' cereals and helped myself some frosted flakes. I haven't had cereals. When did we start? November. Since before that, and that's actually quite nice. It was quite a nice snack. It was quite sugary. It was good. But I'm conscious that I can do these things as long as I don't eat cereals every day for lunch.
Yeah, you'd be on the sugar roller coaster otherwise. All right.
Pick me up.
If anyone, obviously we'll have some people listening into this, and they'd either maybe seen some more work and be on the fence, or what would be some of the advice that you would potentially give to someone which would maybe help them move forwards?
Do something different each day. It doesn't matter how small. What they say, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So yeah, in order to have, in order for me to lose my moves or to have a six-pack, which I'm nowhere near yet, but is you know where you need to go. You know what that path is. No one's expecting you to kind of jump onto that, but do something. So when you first gave me my first exercise, if you remember, there were like 3 sets on it, and it's like 20% on these kind of things. I'm going, what? It's taking me an hour. It's taking me an hour to do it. I was absolutely knackered, and I thought, okay, no, let's be sensible about this. So I did it as 2 sets, and then what I kept doing is I kept like a squat, for example. I was doing 10 squats. I was doing 10 push-ups. I was doing 30 seconds. Of this, that, and the other, and then I just gradually increasing that each day. So do another 2 push-ups if you can. Even if your shoulders and your elbows are shaking as you're trying to raise yourself, and you go, okay, that's probably my limit. And if you're shaking on 8 or 9 and 10, see if you can get to 9. And the next day, if you're not shaking till 9, then see if you can do 10. And it's those little gradient jumps, which is where you make the most difference, and just keep pushing yourself each day just to do a little. And it only has to be the tiniest of steps to do it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, by the way. I think there's, I speak to people like daily, weekly. I'm sure there's people that are watching and listening in today. And I think it is just like having that mindset just to start small when it's okay. But I think the key is just get started. I think people maybe research too much stuff, or they want to wait for the perfect time, or they wait for Monday, and I think just get started and see where you are, and then you can do these incremental changes. So before we wrap up, just how pleased are you that you made the commitment, right? Because it is a commitment. It's 12 weeks of your time. There's a cost involved. You're making that commitment. How pleased are you that you made the commitment, George?
Yeah, extremely pleased. Like I say, I had low expectations regards to the overall weight that I would use. I mean, to put that indication when we were talking about before we started, I was at the 92 kilo limit. And just like someone who employs a cleaner of their house, they would always clean the house before the cleaner comes around. I tried to lose a bit of weight. So I think when we started, I think we're just shy of 90 kilos when we started it. And then I weighed myself this weekend, so I'm now under 87, now 86.9, which was
nice.
The difference for me was when I was 90 kilos, and the way I felt so different just being 88 kilos. That 2 kilo difference was really significant. So if I ran up the stairs, got time for a quick toilet break, run up the stairs, I would feel it. I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my skin. I feel the tightness in my trousers, etc. So that 2 kilos, just that 2 kilos alone, made a significant difference to how I felt about myself, how better my clothes fit, how fit I was. It was just 2 kilos. Just by losing 2 kilos away, I felt I was lighter on my feet. I felt I could do more. I felt I had more energy. So I think that, for me, made the whole thing worth it. Just that small jump alone. And of course, I'm doing all these other things. I'm doing these regular exercises now. I'm now, like I say, under 87. I'm trying to get to that magical 84. I think 85 and a half is me no longer being officially overweight, but kind of getting to that 84, still within that 34 size waist trouser, is where I'm getting to. But that small loss of weight and change of mindset significantly changed how I think and how I do things now.
It's pretty mad, really, because you think, like you say, it's not a huge amount of weight, but I think it's almost like psychosomatic. It's like, obviously it's the weight, and it's nice to see that on the scales, but it's the moving forward, it's the being a bit more in control, exercising more, moving your body, like all of these things, like really, really stack up. Having some goals, like having some structure, like you said, routine. I think all of those things really do stack up. So, of course, the number's great on the scales, but I think you probably would have felt them from doing all those things anyway, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
Oh, of course, the numbers great.
And of course, the other interesting thing about, our journey for that 12-week period was, I don't know whether it was the right time or it was the perfect time. We had the flu. I had that flu 3 times back to back through all the way up to Christmas and over Christmas. Plus, we had Christmas, which obviously you're likely to indulge and it's dark. You're less likely to be active, etc. And I think it was the first time ever that I actually lost weight over the Christmas period. So it's a bit like, if you want to start a business, start it during the recession because you can make it. It was a kind of that mentality that we had so much stuff thrown at us. Work was kicking off. There was loads of things happening. It was just a crazy 12 weeks. But I think if you can do that when anything else is going on and still remain core to that and still consider that every day and still be aware of that, even when there's times when you would skip or eat that pie from the fish shop, all those kind of things. I think that made the difference, and I think that helped it become this routine more of my DNA now than if I would just done it and everything was rosy and I just focused on this, because that would never be the case. There's always 100 excuses not to do something. You just need an excuse to go ahead and do it. And for me, it was just having mobility and having my clothes fit me better.
Yeah, nice. I think that's like a massive takeaway from what we spoke about today. I don't think people always want this right time and like work's busy and clear schedule. The reality is that doesn't happen, and it's just an excuse to put it off, right? So I think doing it when you did it with all those challenges, it's like, now look how well prepared you are going into the spring and summer.
Yeah, and I think things like we'd have a routine standard every week at the same time. But of course, there were times when I was on a train in Newcastle or sitting on the M25. But I said there's enough excuses not to. You just need one excuse to do, and you just need to persevere. What do we say? Kind of punch through the wall. Just keep on going, and then you come out the other side. You're thinking, well, that's done. I've transformed more than I thought I was going to, or more than I thought I had.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, we will wrap it up there. Hopefully, everyone that's watched in have got some value and they've got some stuff to move forward on. George, thank you very much for jumping on.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. We'll talk off camera. But yeah, no, it's been absolutely awesome to be part of your journey. And from my perspective as a coach, it's all about, hopefully the client meeting me halfway, and you've done that and more. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you.
All right, nice one. Cheers, George, and cheers, guys, for tuning in. Thank you.
Well.
Cheers, George.